Okay, so today is February 1st, 2023, and I want to jump into what's going on with the real estate market here in the Detroit suburbs. Right, I'm focusing on Southeast Oakland County, so this is more or less from, I don't know, call it northwest, northwest West Bloomfield, up around Union Lake, and then encompassing everything all the way down to Hazel Park. Right, so we cover a broad variety of different conditions. Right, some inner suburbs, outer suburbs. We have some very ritzy areas like Birmingham, and kind of everything in between. But really like to pay attention to this area. Number one, I live here. Right, I love it, and so I pay attention to it. It's also where I focus my business. So let's jump into the numbers right away, because I know this stuff can be a little bit dry. First and foremost, I know we love to know what the dollar figure is, right? Everyone pays attention to their money. Everyone wants to know what their house is worth. So again, we're looking backwards in time, January 2023, the average house price that sold for $375,316. Now, what does that mean? All right, if we go back a month previous, going back to December of 2022, if you'll remember, our average sales price at that point was $358,492. Boom. So prices have gone up, and that's a really good thing for a couple of reasons. First of all, we keep hearing about this looming recession. We keep hearing about this housing crash that's going to happen. All these interest rates are going to destroy our home values. Doesn't really seem to be happening. Last year, we saw some tremendous increases in the interest rates, right? They more than doubled, and it got kind of scary. We didn't really know what was going to happen. But my personal banker tells me that our prices are coming down a little bit in terms of interest rates. So they're lower today than they were recently. And we're hoping they continue in that direction. No guarantees, though, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. But for now, what we're seeing is that a lot of people who had held off on buying decided to buy early. Normally, the low point for our seasonality is January or even February. And at least right now, it appears that it happened in December. So it happened early. And I think a lot of people are jumping on board trying to buy homes now while interest rates are decent and before the crowd catches on and we get that big rush and start seeing all the craziness in the market again. So just to kind of illustrate my point, all right, so we pay attention to a couple of different things, right? Days on market. In other words, how long does it take to sell a home? For the last decade, it's always been low, right? A month, maybe 2 months is pretty typical. For last month, we saw 36 days on market was our typical. The quantity of homes, right? We want to pay attention to this. It matters, right? It matters a lot more if you're a real estate agent or a mortgage broker or, someone who relies on, the volume of transactions happening. Doesn't matter so much if you're a homeowner, just something to pay attention to. This number, as a real estate agent, it's low, right? This is something we rarely see so few sales actually happen. This last month, we were at 981 sales, right? December, there were 1,133, and going back a year ago, over 1,000 as well. So numbers a little bit lower than we like to see. Not the end of the world, because we want to pay attention to, that's the supply side. We also need to see the demand side. As long as they're pretty balanced, we've got a pretty good market. A number of homes that were sold number of homes that actually closed in January was 366. And so that gives us a month's supply. Now, this is the one I like to pay attention to, right? Month supply is a very good indicator for what's going on in the market. All right. So in this segment, this Southeast Oakland County, what do we have? Typically, if there's more than a 3-month supply of homes, our prices tend to go down. If the month supply figure goes below 1.5, our prices tend to go up very fast. And so where are we right now? For January, we're looking at a 1.3, right? That's incredible. My expectation next month we're going to see another jump in sales prices. Looking back, in the beginning of January, we were reflecting a 1.4 for December, which explains that drive up, right? 358 to 375. That's a healthy jump, especially for this time of year. So we're going to continue to watch. We'll pay attention to what's happening. We'll report again at the beginning of March, and my suspicions will probably be right. I'm pretty good at this. We're not going to put that in. All right. So let's pay attention. Beginning of March, we'll take a look again. We'll see if prices have jumped up again, and we'll see how that balance between supply and demand is going. I suspect that if the interest rates go down, we are in for a brutal buying season. In other words, if you've been thinking about buying a home and you've been holding off, it's not going to get easier. Right now, I don't know, we're in the low to mid sixes. If you see that number move to the high fives, we are going to be in a super competitive market again. We are going to be in a super competitive market again. There's going to be multiple offers on most of the nicer homes. You're going to see price increases on a regular basis. You're going to have that frustration of standing in line to actually get access to a home. All of these things that we experienced last spring, that interest rate could really drive us there. We're already on the cusp, okay? If interest rates stay exactly where they're at, we're still going to have a competitive season. There's not a lot of homes to pick from. Our sellers in a great position where there's a lot of equity. There's not a lot of need to sell the homes. Many sellers who are thinking about selling or holding off because they don't know where they're going to land. And so it's this, I don't know, this very static moment in time. It's a tough time to be a buyer, but it almost always is. And I know we wish, oh my goodness, as a buyer, I want prices to go down. The reality is, we've seen that before. We've seen the buyer's market, right? That was that ugliness back in 2008, 2010, 2012, that time period. Nobody bought. Buyers don't like buying when prices are going down. It's way more fun if you're jumping on a rising tide, right? So we're seeing a rising tide right now. If you're a buyer, let's talk, let's strategize. There's some cool concepts we can go over that might actually help you position yourself a little bit better against the market relative to interest rates, whatever. Anyway, I'm Brian Hayes. I'm your Southeast Oakland realtor. I look forward to helping you in the future.